Okay, now I want to talk to you about using some alternatives to the foam core. You're going to have a little bit a few of the instructions are going to have to change a little bit because the foam core is very malleable and I can poke things through it and it'll hold fairly well. But if you cannot get that and you have things like corrugated cardboard, you can see the corrugation there. That's the little wavy part that goes back and forth. That's the corrugation, if I can get that to focus. That's corrugation, corrugated cardboard. There are types of corrugated cardboard. If we look at, let's see, maybe I can get a better shot of this one. This is also a type of corrugated cardboard. This one is from a Lego box, but the corrugation is very, very thin. And it's several layers put together. You can kind of see where there are little holes in there by my thumb. This is one that could be used as well. Now, this is what this looks like. Now, I cut out and I used, if you're going to use different materials than the foam core, I would say make your chairs and your table with just the straight angles to start with, the corners, because this is much harder to cut once it's all together. And this one, you can see I took 2 pieces of this and I sandwiched them together. And maybe that's 3 pieces. No, that's 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3. You can see they're right here. 1, 2, 3. Now, I also used a nice amount of glue on this, and I used clamps to hold it in place while it dried. Not just one clamp, several clamps. I usually clamp on the corners of all 4 corners of something. Now, this means also, here's this one, that when you add, you're going to kind of have to bulk it up a little bit, because I think that ends up being closer to 4 millimeters instead of 5. So all of the pieces that you're going to be making, you're going to be bulking them up a little bit. This is a thicker whiteboard. This was from my Bon Maman calendar. You can kind of see that. This one is from a regular corrugated, wider corrugated cardboard. Now, this has problems because if you're cutting at an angle, you can see how it cuts through part of one of the corrugations. And you really do need to have that white, more sturdy board on the outside. Regular paper board will not do it. Regular poster board won't do it. It's not quite strong enough. But you do have holes here that you can put the skewers through if you need to. However, when it comes to something like this, you really can't do that. You really can't do that. And you can see I made a thinner one here. And what I do with that, if I can find, there they are. There's the example. Sorry, I had to look at my arm there. This requires a little bit more carving of the bamboo, but it's not that hard. It can be done. And they are simply attached to the outside like this. And this is another one of those things that I'm going to be putting another appendices within the pattern if you want to make alterations. So it's not going through, it's just going on the outside. And then the holes would be made the same way in the bottom. However, when working with corrugated cardboard, these corrugated cardboards, you need to make sure that everything is completely 100% dry before you start cutting on it. This kind of big corrugation has a tendency to smush. And when it gets wet, you've seen cardboard in the street getting wet, it just begins to disintegrate. So you have to wait until it's completely dry to work on. So if you're going to work with the cardboard, I suggest like one evening or one afternoon, make these, put them, if you don't have clamps, get them all glued up, put them underneath a book, and let them dry thoroughly. And then the next day, start on the next step where you're going to be making holes here and adding on the outside veneering along the edges here. So I hope that that has helped. And when I'm talking about these sorts of white cardboard, you can see here, this is just from a candy cake box sort of thing. It doesn't have to be expensive. This is my Bon Maman calendar. It's a heavier weight because it has jars inside of it. A little jam calendar there. So for your own particular pieces that you're making, I want you to experiment. Don't feel bad if you can't get the foam core. Look around and see what you have. And as always, if you have any questions, just DM me through Patreon and I'll answer your questions. And we can figure something out, because maybe there's something I haven't considered that you're doing that is really, really super cool. So I hope that answers some questions. I'm going to be continuing using some of these in some upcoming tutorials, because I want to show you where things will fail or will need to be altered, if that makes sense. So I'm going to be showing you again how we're going to work on the pattern as I have it, but I'm also going to be adding in some things, like if you're working with the corrugated cardboard, these are some alterations that you'll need to make to say things here and there. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, I'll see you in the next video.